would like to start this off.
I got you here, man.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of why they lose.
Cowboys win because they destroy opponents at home. And I don't think that's changing anytime soon. Mike McCarthy understands the importance of playing his best games in front of the Dallas crowd. And that's what he's been doing. Cowboys lose because I'm looking at this. Kevin, what numbers were you saying that Dak Prescott's really good against? Is it man?
Man.
How is he against zone coverage? Do we know the answers there?
Less good.
At one point in the season, the Seahawks were the zone heaviest team in the entire NFL. Now, if they're playing single high safety type stuff, Dak's going to shred them. But zone coverage has been one of those very tough spots, I do believe. But I did see some numbers from Mina Kimes that said he was first in a lot of different categories, but it never said zone. I think it was everything was all about man coverage, and I just want to know what those numbers are. But the zone-heavy defense of the Seattle Seahawks gives Dak fits tonight, and he struggles, and that is why they lose if they lose.
Listen how negative you are.
Look, man. All right, so he's first in QBR versus man, first in QBR versus blitz, second in QBR under pressure from the pocket, outside the pocket, first on third down. But nothing against zone. So I need to go find out his numbers against zone real quick.
All right, so Cowboys win because they are way better than this team.
Right.
Dak is way better than Geno Smith. Geno Smith is an average quarterback in the NFL, and it's like one of the worst things to have. I heard G-Bag Nation talking about, man, Geno this. I'm like, isn't like Geno the somewhat, in a way, your worst nightmare as a franchise is like, crap, he's just going to win 7 to 10 games, and then we're either not going to make the playoffs, not have a premium pick to take a quarterback, or we sneak into the playoffs, get hammered, and see you later, alligator.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think Geno is – I get who he is, but if you had Geno Smith, you're just looking at yourself going, oh, geez. So I think the Cowboys honestly destroy Seattle tonight. I'm picking 38-17. I'm thinking it's 38-10 with a few minutes to go, and they get a cheapie to make it 38-17.
Now,
so I think it's a blowout. Cowboys lose because I feel like I go to this too much against the bad teams, but that somehow, some way, to Corey's point, Seattle gets 2 more turnovers than you get, whether it's like Seattle is 2-0 or 3-1 in the turnover battle, that somehow the Cowboys give them really easy opportunities to score through turnover, or the Cowboys lose points when they've driven the ball down inside the red zone and they turn the ball over in that situation, and not like on a 4th down, but they throw a pick or they fumble the ball and it just changes the feeling of the game. I have a tough time watching Seattle play on Thursday Night Football last week on Thanksgiving and go, that team they just look like they have zero chance to come to Arlington and win.
Kevin, as of November 18th, Dak had 5 interceptions and 4 touchdowns against zone. He was the 23rd ranked quarterback. And again, Seattle is very zone heavy. Now, can that be fixed tonight? We'll see. We'll find out.
From the 817, Cowboys win 38-17, and the only reason it's not 45-17 is Pete Carroll gets so upset that Geno Smith throws a pick to Bland that he tackles him to stop him from making another pick 6. I feel like
interesting.
Would they still get credit for that? From the 806, Cowboys win because they're at home and Dak continues his high level of play. Cowboys lose because they get caught looking ahead to the Eagles, and Jordan Lewis gets burned all night long, especially with Lockett. From the 682,
is Jordan Lewis a concern for everybody?
Yeah.
Like the team says, hey, we're putting our best receiver up against our slot guy. Their slot guy, and that's a big concern. Okay.
I mean, I'm concerned, at least compared to the rest of the defensive backfield with Jordan Lewis. Corey, let's see if you can figure this one out. I think you can. The 682, Cowboys win 22-9 because I need money. Cowboys lose 12-19 because I need money.
Hold on, you made the bet? You made 2 bets.
Squares.
Squares.
Those are the squares right there.
Okay. I was like, you made 2 bets to hedge your bets?
Those are the squares right there.
All right. Well, then here it is. I hope that you win the money.
But only with the good score.
Yep. But only with the good
bad score.
Let somebody else deal with that other crap.
Cowboys win because they're going to wreck Seattle's offensive line. is very clear.
The right side of that offensive line is going to have a hard time tonight, man.
And I know they're like, hey, we got reinforcements. But in Seattle's 6 wins, they gave up a sack and a half per game. You live with that for the season for sure. In their 5 losses, they've been sacked 3.6 times per game. So you can see the clear difference right there. If you get to the quarterback, if you get specifically to Geno Smith, because I know in a lot of games you can be like, oh, if you get to the quarterback, you're going to have a better shot of winning. It's very clearly drawn out for Seattle. If you get to Geno Smith, you will win the game.
Yes.
If you do not, that is how Seattle sticks around and ends up winning the game. Now, I am going to go with Cowboys lose because, and this kind of, it's not just Jordan Lewis, but it goes back to him a little bit, is they do have 3 competent receivers in, and sometimes more than competent, in Metcalf, Lockett, and Smith and Jigba. I know his rookie season feels like it's been disappointing, but Seattle is one of just 4 teams in the NFL with 3 different wide receivers that have at least 400 receiving yards. So they can spread the ball around. And so if they're able to, kind of take advantage of Bland, like you saw a little bit, take advantage of Gilmore, like we've seen throughout the season, and take advantage of Lewis, that's the way I see that they stay.
I think against this defense, you can have a few plays that look, oh my gosh, and maybe you'll have odd drive against them.
Sure.
But for the collective part, they're going to make a couple different plays against you that are going to make you go crap. And that's where I don't see Seattle being able to crack open big enough plays against this team. It would have to be something that completely slips through the cracks for the Cowboys for that to happen. But yeah, Kevin, I feel like Smith and Jigba's season is a disappointment,
especially since people were like, "This is the guy." This
is
the best
I know he had the didn't he break his hand in the preseason against the Cowboys? But I'm looking at his projections right now. He's projected to be 627 yards. He's got 406 right now. You think he's going to get to that? Okay.
But even that would be a disappointment if he's playing now.
Yeah.
And they're like, over the next 6 games, you'll get 220, 240 yards. That's definitely a disappointment.
And maybe, again, there's a very good trio of receivers, and maybe the quarterback doesn't match that for them. Like Geno Smith had his thing. But maybe he's just not still in that place.
I bet a lot of people feel like this just when it comes to the Cowboys in general because all the baggage that comes along with them. From the 2-1-4, Cowboys win because they found their offensive rhythm and defense will have a field day on Geno. Cowboys lose because they should win. The good thing about that is this is a home game, and they haven't screwed around with home games. Obviously, your struggles against the Chargers, the loss against the Cardinals on the road that you're like, what happened there? But at home, they don't play around.
But they have I bet they've been behind before at home, right?
0 times.
What?
That's crazy, right? I'm not saying like if they fall behind 3 or 7-0, I'm not gonna be like, we're done.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised
if they trailed in this game at some point, because they just don't.
I'm just looking at Seattle real quick. Their last 4 games at Ravens, loss 37-3.
Yes.
Smoked.
Home against the Commanders, win 29-26.
Very close.
At
game.
the Rams, close. They lost 17-16. And then they just played the 49ers, if you watch Thanksgiving night, and it was a horrible game. It was 31-13. They are playing bad football. I get their record. They're 6-5, and 6-5 is 6-5. However you get there, you get there. But right now, you're playing a team that's playing like one of the bottom 10 teams. Not a bottom 5 team, but I'd say you're playing one of the teams that's playing bottom 3rd football in the NFL for a month now.
They've been playing very poorly. From the 972, Mike, you'll like this. Cowboys win because they aren't playing Mr. Dabalina.
I like it. By the way, at Cowboys, at 49ers, home against the Eagles. So this 4-game stretch for them where they just lost 31-13 for Seattle. 49ers, Cowboys, 49ers, Eagles.
Which feeds into our notion about what record you could get into the NFC playoffs with.
Could 7-10 make the last spot?
I'm not going to say that. I'll stick with 8-9. I think could pull it off. But I hear where you're going with this.
Babe was on with Sean and RJ this morning, and he said, "Hey, every interview I've ever heard with Pete Carroll is we got to get back to running the football. We got to run the football. We got to do better at running the football. We got to running the football." I wonder sometimes if coaches say that as more mentality than actually doing it, because he said it so much.
Okay.
If he's just saying when you run the football, it's a physical by nature thing that you're doing. When you're running the football, you are intended to be the more physical team because we're going to run over you. That's our mindset here. And I often wonder that who's the tougher team? Who's the more physical team here? Because when it's the Niners, we've seen the Cowboys get knocked in the mouth every time. They're not tough enough against that team. Is Seattle the tougher team? Are they more physically?
I don't think so anymore. I would have probably been in on that argument, or at least listened to that argument more a month ago. I don't think so, because you've seen their offensive line get bullied. You've seen them turn the ball over. Like, I know turnovers doesn't only have to be a factor of physicality, but sometimes that is part of the deal right there.
I'm looking at, I just remember during draft talk, Zach Charbonnet was a guy that... Charbonnet, thank you. That
if you fancy.
He was brought up a lot in Cowboys conversations because the Cowboys had a hurt Tony Pollard and didn't really have any depth behind him. But I'm looking at his game logs. His overall numbers aren't bad. 67 carries for 308 yards. That's a 4.6 average, no touchdowns. So, look, it's okay, but for a second-round pick, as they've lost Kenneth Skywalker, you would think that this guy would be better. From the hype that he got in the draft, why isn't this dude...
He's getting more of an opportunity now. We'll see.
Charbonnet. Until he gets better, that's his last name.
From the 817, you'll like this. It's a multi-tiered win because lose because. Cowboys win because they crush average to below average teams at home. Cowboys lose because their linebackers struggle to tackle and help in coverage. But ultimately they win because it makes Jerry see that we need Shaquille Leonard.
I don't think it's Jerry that needs to see that he needs them. Like, I think Jerry understands that. He didn't say it out loud in any interview because he doesn't want to portray that. But it came down to simple things, and that was, is he healthy enough to play? If he is, we want him. And he's going to play a lot, and that's where it's now in Shaq's court. Does he want to play a lot in the Eagles system, or does he want to play a lot in the Cowboys system? And maybe really up to that.
Maybe the most basic, Cowboys win because if they win, when they win, Seattle won't be above 500 anymore. So that will allow the narrative to continue.